Hi gang, welcome to my Saturday edition of Radius Massage and Pilates Studio at Home Fitness. Today we're going to work on some functional movements for the pelvis, okay? So all we're going to need today is a mat and maybe a little towel or a pillow for your head, okay? So let's go ahead and stand with feet hip distance apart, feet pointing straight ahead. And we're going to be doing a lot of anterior and posterior pelvic tilting and rotation and side to side movement, both standing up and lying down, okay? And I guarantee you, if your back is feeling tight, if your upper thoracics are feeling tight, shoulders, this is definitely going to make you feel better when we're finished with it. So you can put this video together with the breathing assessment video that I posted earlier this week. And once you've done it a few times and you can memorize it, it's a pretty nice little at-home self-care routine that you can do every day. And I guarantee you it will help you with any low back pain you might be experiencing, hip issues, breathing issues, diaphragm. So give it a try, okay? Alrighty. So I also would like to give a credit where credit is due. I've been taking a class with a gentleman named Sean Kitzman, and this breathing and pelvic assessment work that we're doing now is from him. And it is wonderful. So I encourage you to seek him out if you would like to get even more information on this work, or you can reach out to me and I can help you get in touch with him. He's up in Michigan, okay? Alrighty, so first thing we're gonna do, and I'm gonna give you my side view, is we're going to go through a posterior and an anterior tilt of the pelvis. We're just going to go back and forth. Now, just kind of starting this cold, I haven't done any warm-up or anything. I don't have a lot of range of motion. My low back's pretty tight. I haven't quite gotten into the groove yet. So you're definitely going to feel different when we end this and reassess our pelvic range of motion versus how we're feeling right now, okay? So inhale as you anterior tilt. That means that you're gonna increase this low back curve, your lordotic arch, and then when we posterior tilt, you wanna exhale. And you're gonna be bringing your sit bones forward, your hip bones back. You're gonna be stretching out that lumbar spine. So inhale, exhale. Take note, what position feels the best to you? Does any of these positions make you feel pain in your low back or a gripping? Do you feel like you're bracing too much in your stomach when you're trying to move that pelvis back and forward? Do you feel like your feet or your neck react? Does your chest want to collapse and stick out? Okay, so let's do this a few more times. Good. Okay, so now we're going to work in a different plane. This was the sagittal plane, forward, backward. Now we're going to go side to side. So try not to let your upper body move with you. Put your hand on your chest and your other hand on your pelvis. And I want you to see if you can move left to right without moving your upper body or side bending or anything. So I can really go to my right. I really have not much movement going to my left, if you can see that. But I'm going to breathe and see if I can improve that a little bit. Again, take note of which range of motion or direction feels really good and maybe which feels like it's just too hard. You can't do it. One might give you a little cramp or a pinch or a twinge in your low back. I just got a little crack in my back, a little adjustment. Okay, now we're going to do another motion. We're going to hike. So I'm going to bend my right knee and really hike up and kind of internally rotate this left hip. One, I'm going to alternate. So I'm trying to hike this hip up. Now I'm going to bend my right knee and try to hike this left hip. Again, I don't have a lot of range going on in this left side. Okay, I'm forgetting what I'm doing. There we go, I'm forgetting what I'm doing. So I'm getting a little bit more motion over here than I can, well, I'm getting more over, it's a little too much on this side maybe. Too much or not enough. But I feel like this hike is what I need. Okay, let's do a few more. Notice what your feet are doing. Do you have a lot of weight across your whole tripod of your foot? First toe, second, fifth toe, center of heel. Do you feel like all your weight's on the outside or the inside of your feet? Maybe the outside of one foot, the inside of the other foot? Just explore all those places. Okay. Now we're going to try to just rotate our pelvis and not our chest. So this is not super easy. So I'm basically thinking about my pubic bone or my belly button, and I'm saying, all right, rotate to the right or rotate to the left. You might feel like your body, your thoracic and your rib wants to rotate together on one side, but not on the other. Like that's a separate movement. For me, hips going this way, my chest is okay staying straight ahead, but when I want to go to the left, my upper body kind of wants to go with me. Hence, something's going on in here. Okay, let's do that a couple more times. I'm rotating, 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 and one more. Good. Okay, so let's just take a little walk around the room. Okay, we'll come back and let's kind of reassess what's going on with our posterior and anterior tilts. So this feels better than it did before. I'm also not letting my chest collapse or extend when I do this. I'm trying to keep just the pelvis working. Okay? Alrighty, now let's go ahead and hit the floor. We're going to lie on our backs. And we'll go ahead and we'll go through that same anterior and posterior tilt on your back. But before we do that, go ahead and you can have your feet flat, like you're going to do a bridge. Your legs are going to be a little wider than hip distance apart. And when you get your pelvis in a neutral position, so you're gonna want, do you see how I've rocked back, and so now my waistband and my low back, my spine is pressing into the floor. That's your posterior tilt. Let's call that 12 o'clock, okay? I don't want you in 12 o'clock right now, nor do I want you to roll so that your low back has got a big space between it and the floor, and your tailbone is pressing down on the floor. Let's call that tailbone 6 o'clock, okay? So I want you to go between those 2 points of 6 and 12, where you feel like your pelvis, if it were a big bowl, would be nice and level, okay? So if that big bowl was full of hot water, that water wouldn't be slopping over any edges right now, alrighty? So before we start tilting, I want you to feel on your pelvis, where is most of the weight? Do you feel like most of the weight is on the right side, the left, up here at the waistband, or down near the tailbone and more kind of where your leg and your glute meet? And just be aware of where you feel like most of the weight is on your pelvis. If you feel nice and centered, awesome, good for you. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and we'll do a gentle posterior and then anterior tilt. And same thing, I just want you to be aware as you roll posterior to anterior, do you feel like you're pretty even and symmetrical with that pelvis? Or do you kind of go into the right side a little bit more, or fall into your left side a little bit more? Or can you just maintain that nice neutral feeling? All right, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and straighten the legs. And I want you to basically shift so that all of your weight, you're pressing most of your weight down through your left pelvis, the back of your pelvis. And just try to hold that. So my right pelvis is kind of lifting up just a little bit. And how does that feel? Does that feel hard? Are you okay with this movement? Okay. Now go to the right side. Does rolling to the right feel like that, and pressing down onto your right pelvis feel like a natural move? Is it hard? Is it hard for the rest of your body to go with you and stay that way? It's totally much easier for me to rotate and press down on my left side. My right side, I feel like there's a lot going on up here. I'm kind of holding on and gripping and bracing with my left arm. Okay, now bend those knees and let's go back to a little bit of a posterior and anterior tilt. Just thinking about, okay, did anything change? Does this feel easier? Am I gripping less? Am I using kind of more deep intrinsic muscles, or am I using the bigger glutes and leg muscles and back muscles and neck muscles? Okay, now let's keep, you're going to bring this left heel in as close as you can to your butt. Straighten your right leg. Now from here, I want you to anteriorly and posteriorly tilt. And tell me if you feel anything across the right hip, in the back. Can you move easily into anterior and posterior? Let's do that a couple more times. Good. Okay, now we'll put the right heel up. And let's do the same thing. Tilt Now lengthen both legs. And then go back to your feet flat on the floor. And let's do another assessment and see how that feels. That feels better to me. I feel a little bit more evenly distributed across my hips. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to stand up and then take a mini walk, and then we'll come back and meet in front of the camera. Okay. Now, feet hip distance apart, and let's go ahead and see how we're doing with our tilt. I feel much more connected. It's easier to get into a posterior tilt. And I don't feel as much compression in my low back when I would anterior tilt as I did before. Okay, so those are a few things that you can do to work your pelvis in all three dimensions, standing up and lying down. Try that, maybe try to do it once a day for a week. Add your breathing exercises where you're trying to connect your ribs to your hips, and see if that doesn't make you feel better, okay? If it does, please reach out and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed that, and please join me for my next video. Thanks, bye.